Hey guys, welcome to GI Joburg 212. We saw Snake Eyes too.
Hell yeah, we did. We had
And I'm joined by our usual ninjas in the clan, that being Steven and Rob. And today we're going to be talking about ninja sticks everywhere. And today we're going to be talking about a few cool things, actually. Namely, Rob and I have finally seen Snake Eyes. So I don't know about Rob, but I'm dying to talk about this film. I'm very excited to talk about stuff in this film. Yeah,
I'm ready. It'll be a fantastic time.
Steven is ready to listen.
Well, yes, I've had my say at length in episode 208, I believe it was. I got to see it with old Zazel from Slaughter's Slaughterhouse. But finally, the other 2/3 of GI Joburg have come to the party, big style. How did you guys view this film?
With my eyes.
On the small screen.
Yeah, I take it you didn't add to the box office draw.
Actually, technically I did, because I pay for Amazon and it is on Amazon Prime. And I did actually go out of my way to try and rent it, and it said cannot be rented in your country. So I was like, fine then. So luckily a little bird on the internet helped point me in the right direction, and I've at least managed to see it. I can definitely say I want to watch it in cinema. To support it. And yeah, but aside from Snake Eyes, we've also got some other cool stuff that's happened. There's Barging In, the latest playmotion special features that has come from one of our friends and supporters of the channel. Actually, two of our friends and supporters of the channel. That's Ronald Hoff and Mark from Lewin. And we also have some cool nostalgia chat, some childhood memories shared with us through Rob, Steven, and can't believe I've just forgotten his name.
Alistair.
No, not Alistair, thank you. And that was presented by Tim Wild. Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, so we've got quite a bumper episode. So yeah, without further ado, gents, let's get into what's new shit.
Here it comes, boys. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. Look at that boy. That is the 1986 AVAC.
Whoa.
Hey.
That's no He-Man.
Now, this figure is hilarious to me. May I just say that, okay, if you were to apportion the red to silver parts on him, would you say it's a 50-50 split?
It feels like it from this picture. It feels pretty equal.
Yeah. Pretty equal. I'd say it might even tend more towards the silver. Silver helmet, silver corset, silver collar, silver shoulders, silver gauntlet details, silver crotch details, silver thighs, and silver shins. The undersoles of the boots are painted silver. All of this is paint. All of this is paint, gents. It's not a plastic molded color.
Which is good, actually.
Is it? Is it
yeah,
really?
It won't break, because like silver plastic and gold plastic is like the same thing.
My friend, I've got a 1985 Moray 1985 Lamprey, driver of the Moray, who's entirely molded in silver and seems no worse for wear. I'm telling you guys, this silver paint is a problem. AVACs are extremely sought after nowadays. In fact, it's in one of our friends' top fives who emailed me, Lance, who mentioned that like he's really like to complete his Terradrome, he's really on the hunt for an original Firebat and AVAC.
Oh, no.
It's proving to be a bugbear. These things are hen's teeth nowadays. And the one that I picked up this week is actually a touched up one. There's been some silver marker applied to it in places. And it looks like a pretty neat job, but allowed me to get this toy for a song. Anyways, the point I wanted to make was, why didn't they go with silver plastic? Because that silver paint is just asking for trouble, and it has. I mean, look, hindsight's 2020. They probably didn't know any better. But I'm saying now, like, it's a no-brainer. Like, make the painted parts the red parts, please. Something else I wanted to note about the AVAC. Does anyone think it looks kind of feminine? And I'm not just talking about the corset giving it kind of boobies. It's slightly smaller in stature. It certainly has smaller feet. And of course, that is to facilitate the fact that the Firebat is a pretty cramped cockpit. One might say you shouldn't put a pilot in there at all. I mean, come on, it's a drone, right? What the hell is this guy doing?
Just flies around on its own.
Well, I mean,
What do you say
the
to that?
AVAC is pretty small inside, so maybe that's what they went for. But I've
do you think
never felt that
AVAC
way.
is? Yeah, you don't think AVAC has a kind of a feminine look about her? All right, fine. Certainly an alien look about her. I mean, the
That's
helmet
definitely
places the eyepiece really low on the head. Like, what's going on there? Anywho, the other element that drives up the price on this figure, other than the sort of the obvious paint wear that happens to the Cobra symbol on the chest, but the other thing that drives up the price on this figure is, of course, the accessory. That parachute pack that it comes with is a beautiful rubber piece, and one that is frequently missing. And look, I'm happy, I'm over the moon, because the price I paid was basically what people pay for the parachute pack alone.
Oh wow, I don't have that.
Ooh, well, you're about to get real jelly, baby, because look at the sculpting on that bad boy. There's a knife, there's a reserve chute in the front, and the main chute in the back has a Cobra symbol. Embossed.
Ooh, that's nice.
That's so cool.
It's a really flexible rubber, so it's nice. It fits the body nicely. It's. I'd say it's actually wasted on AVAC, because AVAC's just going to sit in that cockpit and probably not be able to effectively wear that thing and have the cockpit canopy close around her, if very comfortably. So you're better off giving it to a Cobra Trooper and making that Cobra Trooper a Cobra Paratrooper. Oh,
And we all know they need
friends,
them.
buddy, I wish they had made more of these parachute packs. They're actually better than the GI Joe equivalent, which would be the one that came with 1984's Ripcord. This is an upgrade. And
Is it a strange inclusion though?
for
Because
a
someone
fighter
in
pilot.
someone in the chat pointed out that the AVAC can't wear it and sit in the plane at the same time.
Bizarre, hey?
That's
So
how I
it's more of
definitely
like
know
an
I don't have it.
accessory that you'll be able to use for other figures over time. And also
And
someone
yet-
else from
Comes with such an exclusive toy. Like, to get an AVAC, to get a fire.
yeah, you get this
to get the
awesome
accessory,
like
you gotta get a
but then-
Terradrome. And then there's the mailaways, but those were also quite premium.
so you don't actually there aren't that many actually parachute able characters in
Oh,
the
I do
Cobra
have the
Force,
backpack.
unfortunately.
Sorry.
Oh,
Also,
Paul.
someone asked a very important question. Was the AVAC balancing just now, or did you stick them to the table? Or was it Steven's legendary posing skills?
Posing skills.
Hey man, if you listen to my buddy Alistair praising me on Tim Wilde's interview, which is cross-posted by the way, you can watch it on Tim Wilde's channel, or you can watch it on GI Joburg. Hey, we cover all our bases, but I'll leave the link in the description below.
And they belong to us.
I am the
Sorry.
master of posing, my friends.
You're
I will
quite the
eat no
poser.
humble pie. But no, there is no sticky stuff on the soles of AVAC's shoes. You
He
can
does it
get the center of
professionally, folks.
balance or the center of gravity on these figures right, so that you only need to have one foot planted and the other foot can kind of just be a prop on the toes. But yeah, look, this is a lifetime's worth of posing, my friends. Not to mention the play motion that I now busy myself with. And yes, Renegades Part 3 is in progress. at the
Happening and
moment.
it's looking cool.
We've had an abundance of content just sort of land on our laps, basically. And it's actually caused me to have to put on the brakes on like releases. I have in hand a Snake Eyes review ready to roll. But I've stopped short of doing it because, we want to leave some room for our recent submissions. So it'll be happening perhaps midweek, maybe on the weekend. But the bottom line is, like, we're not typically ones for having a lot of stuff in hand in GI Joburg. It's like, oh, we made a video, quick, get it out the door. So it's
Before
nice
people
to have,
leave us.
to have some goodies in store. So my AVAC doesn't have a fire bat at the moment because I don't have many toys in Australia. So she rides the Cobra rocket sled from 1988.
It's still red, so it counts.
It's the same color as the Firebat. It's that kind of, well, the Firebat had various color variations, but there is a Firebat variation that is this maroon color, and it kind of makes sense. Like, who else is supposed to ride the damn rocket sled? Who else has the sort of cannonball dome helmet? The AVAC, basically. Hey, look, the AVAC came out the same year as the Battle Android Trooper. Maybe it's a robot.
I've got two things that I want to add to this quickly, and I have to share my screen. So this is a picture of my AVAC. He's fired, man. He's sleepy.
So Paul is taking a picture. This is for our listeners. Paul is taking a picture of his AVAC basically passed out on a Terradrome console. It's perfect. Also, the fact that the silverware on your AVAC's helmet looks like he, however you want to play this figure, has been like driving that helmet through her enemies. Ram man up in here. Whoa,
God,
winning it back for Gijoburg.
So I'm going to mention something here. The reason I forgot I had to play the parachute is because my AVAC is in its firebat and pretty much lives in the firebat. And I haven't taken the firebat out in a while because it's inside the Terradrome. And as far as I know, my AVAC is wearing its parachute in its firebat in my Terradrome. Which I'd like to also say thank you, a massive thank you to Greg Crockett for this, because that's how I have one. And hearing that they're quite difficult to get now makes me feel even more grateful for the one that I already have. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Sorry, Steve, are there any other new cool things in your life?
Done, son. Done.
Cool. Well, then while I'm here, I might as well share something that I got this past week. So I'm sure many of you, well, hold on, I just want to share this.
Not any furniture, evidently. Oh. Paul got a cardiac arrest. No laughing.
I mentioned last episode I'm eating like a child, and I just want to share this with the viewers. This is 2 mini pizzas stacked up as technically burger buns over a chicken patty. Now, I'm not a big vegetables guy, but one could, I suppose, add vegetables to this to make it even more interesting. And I shared this with Rob and Stephen on our private group, and I thought, hey, I got to share it with you guys because, stay tuned for more culinary tips. But anyway.
I suppose when you run out of fresh bread, like 2 mini pizzas.
Use the little mini pizzas
as your buns. Oh, my goodness.
Buns?
So thanks to...
And Paul got a hot rod.
Yeah, so thanks to Chris Mewer of Chasing 80s Toys, revealing on Instagram that he had gotten, or was it Facebook or Instagram, that he had gotten a hot rod and cup figure. That was the final nail in the coffin for me. I had seen this toy at one of my local toy stores. I wanted to get it. I decided not to get it because I was, trying to be smart or something stupid. And it was mulling over in my head, mulling and going and churning and whatever. And eventually I saw Chris's post. And I was like, damn, I need that hot rod in my life. And so as of recording last week, I picked up this bad boy, as many of you guys know, and here he is. And I did shoot an unboxing video, and it was really great because you couldn't see half the figure being unboxed. So I was a bit too embarrassed to release that. But I feel like this toy needs a review because it is a fantastic figure. Oh my God, this toy is amazing. I didn't think I would love a hot rod figure as much as I do. And in short, I will say that having had experience with Steven's masterpiece hot rod, I got to say this is like a shrunken down version of it. Even the transformation is similar to it. So, wow, this is a toy
that's terrified of transforming it. I tell you, masterpieces, man, they really do your head in. It's nerve-wracking.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah. And then the
Can
next
you sing a little bit of Stan Bush for us, Paul?
What? No, it's not the You Got the Touch. The Stan Bush is not gonna. No, not gonna go there. I had it in my head.
At least you can. It's 2 p.m. in South Africa. Like I can't really go full belt because I'd wake the baby.
What's crazy is that when I was doing the unboxing, for some reason, that song kept getting stuck in my head. So like, it is weird.
It's a hell of a soundtrack. Jeepers.
It is a hell of a soundtrack. It's fantastic.
And it seems like in GI Joe the movie, we just got stuck with the same. I mean, granted, they're wonderful sound cues and they were used very effectively in the movie, but it was still the same old orchestral, music that was used in the animated series.
Matthew Comstock in the comments says, it's very 80s, but also very awesome. To which I would like to add, that is why it's awesome, because it's very 80s. The soundtrack, yeah, definitely. And then the last thing I want to show you,
sing it now. Can't.
The
Frustrating.
last thing, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because the last figure I got a whole video release, which was, and it was a month or two sooner than expected, was my Baroness from the Snake Eyes GI Joe Origins movie. And guys,
speaking of content, you did an unboxing of her recently, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So that was up there.
He's on fire.
This is a toy that just keeps on giving. I can't explain it better than that. It's just such a fantastic figure. I mean, I know that the original classified Baroness is, according to some people, the better toy. And if that's the case, then I cannot wait to get my hands on that now, because that is saying a lot. This Baroness is incredible, the movie one. And it has one glaring flaw, in my opinion, before I gush, so that you guys know that I'm not being like ridiculous. She comes with two blades. I don't know. They're not really knives. They're not really swords. They're kind of like machetes, but they're not really.
They're not really in the movie either. So why?
They're not in the movie. Yeah, and it's a silly thing. And the problem is they slot into her back. She's got these two holsters in the back that they slot into, and they are completely ridiculous because once you slot them there, you basically take out this character's whole ability to sit down anywhere.
They are sabotaging our appreciation of the Baroness's ass.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Both
they're going to
classified with their stupid gold pistols, and now again with these stabby things that are actually like if she was to walk aggressively, she'd be slicing her sweet cheeks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
they might be in the movie, or maybe they aren't in the movie. We won't spoil that for people who haven't seen the movie yet.
Look, there are a lot of swords and knives in the movie. I mean, it could have happened between scenes that she, I don't know, sheathed them on her lovely lady lumps.
Anyway. But anyway, so that's the only thing that sucks about this. But those two holsters are great if you want to put in little guns. The other thing I will say about this, for those of you out there who may feel like you want to remove the holsters, they are not part of the mold. They were actually glued on. So you could actually effectively cut them off if you really don't like them, if you feel that they really hurt the silhouette. I do feel that they kind of do, but I'm going to get into that with the review because this figure deserves it. But let's get onto some of her cool features quickly. Removable glasses. Wow. Okay, I know that I should have known that and seen that
That's
coming.
movie accurate.
Yay! But yeah, removable glasses are awesome, and the fact that that the gun is a semi-realistic looking MP series kind of submachine gun.
Guys,
anyway,
we're going to give over our "What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you playing?" section, because this weekend, all three of us have been watching something very special. It's a playmotion that was not done by any of our hands, but in fact by a pair of Dutchmen. One of them, in fact, is in attendance, and I'm going to bring him in right now. Long-time listeners of GI Joburg will know this man's voice. He is Snowcat Ron.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Good
Hey,
afternoon.
Ron. How's it going?
Glad to join.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you. This is an unexpected treat, but a very fitting one because we've all enjoyed your work this weekend. Thank you. I don't know what you did ends and where Paul's sort of, I don't know, behind the scenes work takes over. But certainly everything was shot by you and Mark, and it looked like a great time.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun putting it together. So yeah, Mark is a writer. I'm not sure if you know that, but so he did the basic script outline, and based on that, we went outside and shot some footage. And of course, well, just as well as I do, the creative process then takes place behind the screen to make it all fit. It's a timeline you're following, so dialogue needs to fit in the time you have in footage. So scripts change because of that, and yeah, it was so fun because actually we spent 2 weekends together to put it all together. And after that, I did some editing work. And I asked Paul to provide music for that, and it all came together quite well.
I'd say, how far away do you guys live from one another? Was it a question of a sort of an hour train ride or 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's about,
car?
I think, 2 hours by car.
2 hours, wow! So this was quite an undertaking. And you say you did that twice?
Yes.
Okay, and you found the same location for both shoot days?
Oh no, we shot so we took an entire weekend to make the shots, and the second weekend was really for doing the dialogue and
Nice.
And editing.
Lovely. Well, that's a lovely treat to have, to have a little bit of collaboration for the post-production stuff. I know that, when I've enlisted Rob's help, for instance, shooting is one thing, but then, it's a lot of grind on your own in front of the laptop when you really kind of wish you had company. But how do you use someone to kind of, did you edit head to head, or was he kind of sitting on your shoulder, like saying, oh no, you should drag that sequence there and we should put this line in here?
Yeah, basically I was at the controls with that, and he was sitting next to me, and it was really helpful to talk through it together, because it, just like you say, it's difficult to do it on your own. You really need someone with another perspective to make it all come together.
Well, it's just far more fun to have a buddy along, right?
Yeah, and especially recording the dialogue, we had just a good time. It's like acting, getting into the role.
Acting. I loved your read on the characters, and Mark as well. He's got such a kind of a whimsical way of playing these guys. Like Destro, for instance. I particularly like your Destro and Baroness interplay. That's some pretty cool stuff. Hey, was it a lifelong ambition to play the Baroness, Ron?
Well, for me it was, because
Excellent.
it's one of my favorite characters, to be honest, and the voice is always in my head in that sense. So yeah, it was great to do.
I'd love to see more of her. I'd love to see the sort of subplots then spin out of this. But to speak about the plotting of this one in particular, you were inspired to do a story that highlights the battle barge. I mean,
yes,
there's a lot happening, but it seems like the battle barge is very much at the center of this. And they're three, Cobra, I suppose, slackers, just lovable rogues that are kind of manning this punishment, basically. So that was the core inspiration, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to take like a really silly vehicle, and the battle barge qualifies, of course. That was actually something that just popped out of nowhere, because Mark was visiting me at some point, and I showed him the battle barge, and we were talking about making a video, and I said, well, maybe we could make some silly vehicle the center of attention to put some humor into it. But actually, the battle barge by itself, as you can see, it's very stable in the water. You can put huge amounts of water on it and it still floats. So
that's impressive.
I've never seen a better battle barge commercial in all my days. But then again, I guess it doesn't have much competition.
So
I was actually going to ask, quickly before you go on. Like, I saw the battle barge. I mean, I've been watching the footage quite a lot, and that battle barge floats with no issues. And I actually wanted to ask, did you put a flotation device or something underneath it, or did you?
No, it's all natural.
Wow, that's actually very impressive.
The only thing we did is that for some scenes that we, when we didn't want it to float away, then we did place it where some branches were placed, but that's about it. So it's very stable.
Wow. It's
my
very
first
impressive.
viewing, on my first viewing, I just thought this is a cool, like, swampy area. But on the second viewing, I realized, no, actually this is a field that is just in a kind of a bit of a low-lying region that has obviously been freshly rained on and flooded out, which makes for a perfectly scale-accurate bog for these guys. Were you just driving down the road and saw this, I don't know, this kind of impromptu lake and thought, that's our location? Or did you have it scouted before the time?
Well, we did the location scouting ourselves at the day. You know, Mark had some ideas in his head where we could go to, and he wasn't even sure if that location would be useful at the time. It also depends how much rain, you know, has fallen over time, but it worked out pretty well. So, in that sense, it feels like making an actual movie. You know, you do all these steps that, you know, people who make movies also do: location scouting, the scripting, everything. It's fun.
I hear you, man. Yep.
Just imagine us, you know, walking bare feet, you know, through the water, you know, playing with those boats.
And Mark with his cool jacket.
Right. Yeah.
I want to put in a thing here, and I'm sorry Mark isn't here for this one, but there's a moment where Mark is walking with the condor, and this is actually something I'm putting a spotlight on it. So if anybody's missed this is good. This is the magic of play motion. But if you've seen it, I have, Mark's walking with the condor. He's got his jacket on and everything, and I looked at it and I couldn't help but thinking, that's very Paul. It is very reminiscent of that condor play motion Steve and I did like a while back, and I just thought that
with one exception, Paul. Like, when I had you kind of framed up on camera, you didn't realize that your face was visible, so you were looking very serious. Go back and watch our condor review. But Mark looked like he was having the time of his life, and it was just a wonderful moment. He had such a big smile.
That's well noted, Stephen, because that's actually something he mentioned himself as well. When we watched all the footage, he said, he actually saw in the footage what he was feeling. So he was actually having the time of his life. So
that is very heartwarming. I mean, as lovely as this video is, I think it's just elevated that much more by the fact that behind the scenes, you guys are actually playing and enjoying yourselves. Oh, man, that's so cool. Lovely.
In short, I mean, I would like to dive into it more at a later time when Mark can join, but he's unavailable right now.
Sounds like a date, Ron. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Rob, anything you'd like to add?
I think it was awesome. But yeah, it's just true. It's kind of cool to kind of see other people playing with their toys as well. It kind of reminds me of like the cool times that we had making the play motions. So 2032, hopefully we can do that again.
Boo. All right, Ron, we'll let you get on with your Sunday, buddy. But thanks for joining us, and check you next time.
Okay. And I know that Stephen. Cheers, Ron. Sorry, man. I totally jumped in there sooner than expected.
Carry on.
I know that you did forgo the "What are you watching?" section. But Robbie, are you watching anything cool at the moment, or checking out anything cool?
Oh, I think I randomly clicked on every night when I'm having dinner, I'm trying to find something to watch. I randomly watched the first episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Oh wait, did I say this before? I feel like I did. Now that I'm saying it out loud.
This is new information.
Oh really? Okay, yeah. So it was weird. It's just
Bulk and Skull.
So 90s.
Why do those names stick in my memory?
It starts with like they're all at like a gym or something, and the Red Ranger's like teaching the other ones how to like do karate, and then they're bothering everyone, and then they get obviously like
putties. naturally.
Yeah, the
attack.
putties eventually show up and stuff, and it's interesting. It's so weird to kind of watch it again after like I haven't thought about Power Rangers since originally watching them. It's just weird because I'm so used to now my colleague at work watching Super Sentai, which is what Power Rangers is based on.
Cool.
It's
Well,
very
technically,
cool.
Power Rangers is Super Sentai. Yeah.
It is. It's a version of it. I mean, it's an adaptation. It's the same like Robotech is Macross. Technically, I mean, it's just
technically,
re-edited to be its
Robotech
own
is-
thing.
Yeah, well, technically, Robotech is Macross, Southern Cross, and Genesis Climber Mouse Pieta put together as one coherent story. Yeah.
Welcome to GI Joburg, where we sometimes talk about GI Joe.
Well, someone asked me what I'd watched, and that was the first thing that popped into my mind. Something different that I watched this week.
Cool, man.
There's lots of things coming up on Netflix that I'm looking forward to seeing for the first time in years. Austin Powers, both of those movies are going to be on there, so I'm curious to see if it's still as funny as I thought it was when I saw them at the cinema back in the day.
Smells like almonds. Mr. Robert Kalupitan is going to be very happy to hear that you've been watching Super Sentai because, as you may or may not know, he's a massive fan of a lot of the Masked Rangers or the Masked Riders, stuff. Yeah, and he's recently been flexing with some of his autographs that he's got of some of those famous actors who have played Masked Riders and Masked.
Damn, I should
heroes.
share this with my colleague. I mean, she's. I mean, I enjoy watching it occasionally and kind of getting into it now.
I love the shit out of it.
But she absolutely she dies for this stuff. I mean, Power Rangers. I mean, not Power Rangers. Super Sentai, Geku Ranger, I think is the other one. It's just so much. There's so much like different stuff coming out of Japan. It's crazy.
From that line, I like a character called Black RX. And he was even featured in the first series of our Power Rangers, of the, should we call it the English Power Rangers, which is like Dino Ranger, Rio Kinga, or whatever it's called. Mars Rider actually makes an appearance in the third season, and it's so cool to see, Mars Ranger Black RX makes an appearance in there because he's from another planet. It's the whole thing. Anyway, cool, man. I'm glad to hear that you're watching some Super Sentai.
Yeah, I'm keeping it watching different things.
I'm keeping current with What If, and I think I've just had a forthcoming episode spoiled by Lego. And this is the first time Lego's done this.
Lego.
Lego, they are so hot on their release schedule of sets that I was walking through the supermarket and saw a Lego set from Marvel's What If TV series. And I was like, okay. So-and-so gets to do that in that with that character. Thanks a lot. Okay, now I know which episode is coming up. Like, anyways.
Lame.
So, and in Lego, like, bless them because they, as I said, they are really hot on their release schedule. Hasbro could learn a thing or two, to be honest. But they've done this before. They spoiled Giant Man's birth, I suppose. Ant-Man becoming Giant Man in Civil War. By having that set, that sort of airport battle set where the big centerpiece of it was not the minifigs, but the maxi fig, the Giant Man. Anywho, gents, we cannot hold this tsunami back anymore. Everyone on the internet is probably sick and tired of hearing about Snake Eyes GI Joe Origins, but there's an equal number of people gagging to hear the opinions of Rob and Paul from GI Joburg, so let them have it, gents.
Snake Eyes time.
Snake Eyes time. So you both saw it this weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And
yes, spoilers by the way
remarks,
for people who have not watched it. My opening remark is there will be spoilers. So tune out for a little bit, and while you tuned out, like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel.
Scroll down, and in the description, I will have a time code for where to jump back in. That'll save me having to edit in an awkward, like, hey, this is Steve from the future. Jump to time code 51 minutes and 27 seconds. Whatever. So, yeah. Scroll down, the time code will be there. So you have been warned. Hit that pause if you don't want to be spoiled on this movie that everyone seems to think is either okay or
Well,
hot garbage.
apparently-
You
yeah.
ruined my childhood, Hasbro and Paramount. Fuck you guys.
So the real question now is, who's going to start? Rob, do you want to put in your? Should we talk about things that we didn't like first,
Well,
and then get into things that we liked?
initial impressions, I guess. I mean, what did
Let's
you
go
think
with that.
overall? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? I think I'm still deciding, but I think I didn't like it.
Okay. Well, this may mean something to you and Steve when I say this. I watched it from beginning to end, sitting on a couch with no sketchbook in hand, no distractions, nothing. I always bring a sketchbook or something to when I'm watching something in the lounge or whatever. And I did bring a sketchbook, but I never picked it up the whole way through. So that's the best way to say it. Because I enjoyed it. It had my attention. Let's put it that way. I didn't get like annoyed or bored or anything with it. I was just, yeah. So I enjoyed it.
Well, that's good.
That was
I'm
my
glad
initial
you liked
impression.
it. Well, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, I should probably watch it again, but I just felt like 2 minutes in, I was like, I just don't think I'm going to enjoy this.
Why? What was the thing that took you off? I'm curious.
I don't know. I think it was just like, it's 20 years ago. What could possibly happen 20 years ago that's going to impact the story now? Obviously, it has a huge impact on the rest of the story and their version of Snake Eyes that they have in the movie. I don't know. I think it was just I suppose the direction of that initial scene where I was like, maybe this isn't going to be for me necessarily. But I mean, as we go through the movie, I think there were a lot of fantastic like action scenes. Definitely the fighting was top notch, I think, the whole way through. There was a little bit of like plotting and stuff near the end where I was like, okay, I don't understand why you guys are doing this or why this is happening. And some of the plot contrivances were a bit too contrived, maybe. So overall, I think I didn't really like it, but I appreciate that they made a really great effort. And the scenery, especially in Japan, is gorgeous. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, you don't have to apologize for me not enjoying the movie as much as you did.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it immensely, actually. And I'm not going to say it's like the best film ever, but I've got a few cool things to say about it in terms of, like, I think it's the best GI Joe live-action movie we've gotten so far.
Shots fired. Hot takes up in GI Joburg.
And
I would probably agree with that, actually.
not that the bar is very high. Let's put it that way, you know? To be fair, like the bar wasn't set that high, but I would say like it feels like it has a lower production value than the other two movies, but it almost seems to benefit from that.
Yes.
Because it's more intimate. It's a more intimate sort of film in a lot of ways. I like Robert mentioned some of the action, some of the fighting. I thought that was mostly on point. In fact, as you know, as a martial artist, I appreciated a lot of that stuff in the way it was pulled off. Some of it I could see the choreography, meaning that I could see like Storm Shadow doing things with his swords, which was like, you know, just part of his rehearsal and whatever. But I mean, that's not the end of the world. I mean, it's a film.
What do you mean by that? Was he looking quite like he wasn't bringing the intensity that he looked?
No, I think he was.
rehearsal?
I think he was being very careful, like in some ways. Like, I think I think the stuntmen were also being very careful not to hurt them, because you know there's a lot of swords that goes on in that one scene. There's a few scenes where there's a lot of swords happening, and it's kind of in the beginning when he's moving around and he's dancing with the weapons and whatever, and he sort of moves, and it's you can see, like you kind of mentioned an intensity. There's a thing when you, in martial arts, for those who are unfamiliar, you do forms. In karate they call them kata, but anyway, you do a form. And that is basically how you practice your movements for your weapons. And I can get into the whole thing of that. Obviously, when you do choreography, and you know, if you've done any kind of choreography, you sort of go through it until it's perfect in your head. And I just feel like the choreography there wasn't quite like he didn't push himself too hard in certain areas because I think he was worried about maybe the sword hitting somebody or something like that. So he's very much doing the movements, and all the action around him is choreographed to that, but it doesn't seem like he's actually in danger sometimes. And I think that's like the only like critique I really have for the choreography or for the fighting. Otherwise, geez, what else was there that was actually pretty rad? So I was watching this with Celia, and it is quite funny because like she sees this one scene.
This is Tommy Arashikage.
Arashikage, yeah.
His first fight scene, still beardy at the fisheries. Well, yeah, where
So
he's
Celia,
just been uncovered by the Yakuza as a traitor.
Yeah. So this scene was cool because the whole playing out, the whole way that the scene sort of played out in between here, and it's this shot and this shot. Celia was like, "Oh my god, that guy looks like you."
Yes, with the dark hair, the beard, and this kind of almost, I don't know, very posed bit of sword play. He loves using those two swords, front and back in this kind of low crouch. Yeah.
And that's a very samurai pose, by the way.
Really?
When I say very samurai pose, there is actually a sword form with two swords, and there aren't that many actually. Well, when I say there aren't that many, but dual sword usage wasn't popularized until much later in the sort of samurai era.
Well,
and I don't want to go into all of that.
Storm Shadow's thing right back in V1. He had two blades. And absolutely, Celia is right. Paul, there are worse action stars to look like than Andrew Koji.
Totally, and Andrew Koji's cool, man. So
he's rad. Well, look, it's a very commonly held opinion, and I thank Ryan Sweeney for mentioning it in the chats that this served more as a Storm Shadow story.
Yes.
But maybe this is going to feed into the bad. But I think we can all agree that his portrayal was good, on a whole. Yeah, Rob, what did you think of Storm Shadow's portrayal?
Yeah, I think on the whole, he did a really good job as Storm Shadow, and there was a very cool. I mean, it usually feels cheesy when they kind of try and explain the origin of something, but there was a really cool line where the chick ninja, she's like, "Oh, you've got that look in your face again, the shadow before the storm." I don't know, I really liked that actually. I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." It's so much cooler than "So what's your surname?" "I don't have a surname." "Okay then, we're gonna call you Solo, Han Solo." Yes, we finally know.
Did the script writers peg to the fact that Arashikage, at least as far as we've always been led to believe, means or translates as Storm Shadow? I don't know if Larry was mistranslating the Japanese at that point.
No, Arashikage is
doesn't
correct.
mean anything.
Well, I like that. I like that moment. I thought that was kind of cool. But his reason at the end for kind of betraying or whatever.
It's not kind of cool. It's completely bogus. It's undermined.
No, I thought it was really fun.
The fact that the script didn't know that Tommy's code name Storm Shadow just comes from his surname. Simple.
Well, I liked that moment. I thought it was cool.
I'll say this much about Tommy as well. In the film where he leaves the Arashikage and he kind of takes off his signet ring and puts it down, and it's got the Arashikage symbol on it. I turned to Zazel at that point and I said, "Well, it's a lot easier than removing a tattoo." Actually, I didn't have to whisper it because there was no one else in the theater. So I said, "It's a lot easier than removing a tattoo." Yeah, it seemed like the ritualistic Arashikage branding didn't have to happen in this retelling.
I'm
also occurred to me having tattoos on your secret ninja clan, perhaps not the best idea that Larry had. I mean, it served as a great visual tie-in in issue 21. But if you think about it too much, it's like, well, we know which of these guys that are sort of ninjas and infiltrators are Arashikage. We just have to lift up their sleeve and hey, chop that guy's head off right now.
Yeah, and then he's done. He's from that clan. We all know what he's about.
Kill him.
I thought his performance was really good overall the whole movie, except at the end where I just didn't understand why he turns his back on the family. Like, to me, it makes no sense and why he should join Cobra. But I don't know.
I've been giving this movie way too much credit because I thought that just like Snake Eyes uses pretty much 70% of this film as an infiltrator and has the wool pulled over everyone's eyes, including the audience, for a long time. So too is Storm Shadow now a secret plant within Cobra. But as I say, I'm probably giving this movie way too much credit.
That would actually make more sense to me, because his kind of like sudden like turning at the end, just I don't know. To me, it makes no sense
because it was orchestrated, just like Snake Eyes being the executioner for Tommy in the beginning of the film. It was that was orchestrated by Kenta, and Storm Shadow turning to Cobra was orchestrated by Granny. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of having to defend this movie by actually inventing shit.
So yeah, okay. So let me track back a little bit. Firstly, you guys mentioned the Arashikage symbol, which I was very pleased to see was used very minimally, if ever, in the film. That was actually really great.
Because Snake Eyes only got his uniform like in the last 5 minutes.
Right, but like it was still cool that it wasn't all over the place. I liked that. I liked that they try to keep some sort of. They try to make it that it was kind of secret, and at least on Tommy's ring, it's there on the ring. The hexagram is on the ring, which is pretty like whatever, if it's something like that on a ring. It's not too obvious, which is cool. I liked that. I liked a lot of the mysticism that they added to it, because it's cool when a ninja film has got a little bit of that sort of mystical edge to it. And sadly, we're not in an era where I feel that could have been done more subtly. So they had to sort of go with it the way they did, giant snakes et al. Which really doesn't bug me, because I've enjoyed that kind of imagery in video games and stuff recently as well. And I like that mythological sort of approach to it. That was great. Stephen, you mentioned like Snake Eyes pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. I thought that was also very cleverly done. I feel like the film, like there was a little bit of cleverness in this film where if you were a GI Joe fan already, they subverted your expectations, which was clever. And if you don't know anything about GI Joe, they still managed to do that. So kudos to them for that, because throughout the whole film, you're thinking, oh, Snake Eyes is actually really a good guy, because he's really a good guy. And then he does some pretty dick stuff. In fact, I kind of like a lot of the origin story that they put across in this film. The fact that Snake Eyes himself is actually like a problem initially, and then only learns the hard way from being an actual dick and seeing the.
So you liked it, Rob? Yeah. What was your read on Snake Eyes not being Captain America with a burnt face, but actually a bit of an anti-hero, bit of a villain?
It didn't bother me. I mean, I think it is obviously that they have their own take on this character, and they're kind of like fueling him with rage, and his entire life he hates this single person. And then when the time actually comes to kill the guy, he kind of realizes actually he's not even the person I should be angry at. It's the people behind him that kind of, have ruined my entire life. But my one contention with Snake Eyes, though, is that like early in the movie, he states, "I don't kill people. I never kill." And then once you put a sword in his hand, oh, he's not a murderer. But like once you put a sword in his hand, he's like, "Damn, okay, I freaking love cutting up people. This is the best. Give me another."
I'm a regular Cuisinart. No, so Rob, you asked earlier. Yeah, snake kebab. You mentioned earlier that you didn't understand Tommy's redemption or Tommy's pivot, like why he turns to Cobra. Without like trying to be like, I'm taking what the film gives you, and this is what I understood from it as well. Snake Eyes starts off being like a delinquent, so to speak, turns over to the side of the Arashikage. He understands his purpose, and as you guys mentioned, he has this vengeance thing, and he opts not to kill that guy and go for the people that's behind it. Cool, okay. Tommy also has a vengeance issue with his cousin, and he uses that stone against his cousin, which he wasn't supposed to do. So he's firstly, to me, he's filled with guilt, like he's done that. He's also got the expectation his whole life. He even mentions he's been groomed to be the next successor. So the fact that that's now been taken away from him, he's angry and he seeks a place to, and he seeks belonging. And he doesn't actually leave the Arashikage to join Cobra. He leaves the Arashikage, and he, I don't think he actually knew what the hell he was trying to do when he left. But when the Baroness confronts him and goes, "Oh, there's a place for you in Cobra. Your army is gone, blah, blah, blah." So
yeah, you've just lost an
makes sense to
army.
me then.
Well, would you like a better one? Like that's our offer. Ooh.
Yeah, so that's how that made sense to me. And also that Tommy himself is very upset and disappointed, with, I would say, himself and with his aunt, well, with his grandmother. Yeah, Granny.
Is it his granny?
Because
It's his
I think
grandmother.
it's Granny. It is his,
It's
because
definitely his grandmother.
Here's something that occurred to me in other discussions. So we have a notable absence in there was no soft master. But Paul, you tipped me to the fact that like the fans is not a soft form in martial
Yes.
arts. So maybe there was
Maybe she's
some
the soft
intention to make Granny the kind of the stand-in for the soft master, and she kind of had a whimsical side to her.
I think
But-
she is a soft master, and that's well said, because she's the leader as well. And wasn't the soft master the leader of the Arashikage clan?
I think Hardmaster was the eldest
Was
brother.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Soft Master was under him.
How did you guys enjoy the riddle in the beginning of Snake Eyes' sort of exam of his, let's call it his grading, his ascension into being an Arashikage? And I'm referring to his fight with the Hardmaster that had the bowls. How did you guys feel about that?
I thought that was a cool moment. And it's kind of cool. He kind of reflected back on what had been said to him in the moments before the fight itself happened. And I thought it was cool that it kind of used the information that was just given to you to kind of figure out what he had to do next. Which is interesting because also Storm Shadow is the one that tells Snake Eyes about the jewel and how it can destroy things and how they must never use it. But then later in the movie, he completely forgets that he's not supposed to use it. And I suppose that is kind of like that kind of shows the turning of his character away from the core tenets of his rage in needing to defeat his cousin. Actually, kind of like took over his own thinking in a way.
Exactly.
Seen it build over 3 scenes at that point. Like the first battle at the docks, he is defeated quite handily. Like Kenta doesn't even unsheath his sword. Like how insulting is that? It's like, I'm trying to kill you with both of my blades, and you don't even take your blade out. And then the second one on the rooftop in the rain in Tokyo, he starts pounding the damn roof. I'm thinking like, shit, dude. Good thing the actor is pounding like a compression pad, because driving your fist repeatedly into a roof is going to give you some serious damage. Yeah. And then the final time he gets the opportunity to like end this, and like let's face facts, like Kenta at that point has probably slaughtered Arashikage members by the dozen. Like
dozens
people in
and
that
dozens.
building when he incinerated. Anyway, so yes, cooler heads did not prevail. I buy Tommy's dissent. I do. The reaction was perhaps a little bit out of tune. That like Granny's going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say like the Arashikage clan dies with me because you ain't inheriting it and I'm not passing it on to anyone else. It's like what? You're going to let all of it die on the vine? That's why, as I say, I give this movie way too much credit, because I think to myself, if they were going to do a sequel, it would be revealed that this was all part of some master plan.
Yeah, it could be a way that it could be something she's doing to temper her apprentice, to temper Storm Shadow. Because in the beginning, like I love that moment where with the bowl and the whole thing there, because that's a very martial arts thing, and that there was some definite research there, or the stunt guys, somebody on set who was a martial artist has had an experience similar to that was used in that Arashikage initial part of the initiation, because that's what martial arts is about. It's about sharing knowledge. It's not about being forceful about it. And I love that whole can I have your bowl? Can I give you my bowl and in exchange for yours? I loved that. That is because that is the core fundamental of any martial art. I bring my best, and I ask you to please share your knowledge with me, and I will respect that by doing my best and taking your knowledge in and really trying to understand and trying to do the best I can with it. And I love that. That actually gave me goosebumps in the movie. And that was not what I was expecting to get out of this film. I was expecting this to just be schlocky and actiony. And I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because it did touch me in a few places, like with that, emotionally at least. With Tommy, like, I also love that Storm Shadow is actually kind of, he's a very almost naive, very sensitive guy. And so he's going through this journey, like we meet him, that's how he is. He's not the Storm Shadow we know, from the comic books, where, we know a little bit of Tommy from Vietnam and how badass he was and he's cool and stuff. But otherwise, Storm Shadow we always know as being filled with rage and this and that, and it's all about vendetta, and he's like a real sort of cardboard cutout of the bad guy ninja kind of thing in a lot of ways. And I like that. Oh, okay, this is actually why he goes that way, because he's actually kind of a sensitive dude. He's actually, he's got a good heart and whatever. And we even know that because Kenta instructed Snake Eyes on how to manipulate Tommy, with the, I see honor in your eyes. And he's like, yeah, he likes that line, So
I have to steer the conversation a little bit back towards the title character, though, guys. Like, you were okay with him being not just an anti-hero, like, essentially his actions place him squarely in the villain camp. Like, sure, Cobra and Kenta had something over him, but he took that final step to secure the rock for them, the MacGuffin, the Jewel of the Sun. That's what it's called. This ancient power source. So he is, in many respects, like, in the chats, Hans says it best when he says that the blood of the Orochikage fallen is on Snake Eyes' hands.
Mm.
Is that not problematic for your principal character to be the villain of the piece? Rob?
I think, yeah, he definitely it's like we spent so much time talking about Storm Shadow.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
like you start talking about Snake Eyes, you're like, oh yeah, he was in the movie too. He was the bad guy. Because like when they initially show, okay, he's duping people. I mean, you keep expecting him to turn, like, okay, so now's the moment that he's gonna become a good guy. Now's the moment that he'll become a good guy, and he keeps not becoming a good guy until like after he's handed them the jewel, and it takes the guy that he's been wanting to kill his entire life tells him, oh, I was there on the orders of Cobra, and it's like, oh, okay, so my rage was misdirected. I shouldn't have done
a smart guy. Like, if you don't mind my saying, like, Snake Eyes, the character in this movie, doesn't seem to be a very smart guy. He doesn't, like, he just doesn't seem to think about his actions. He doesn't seem to consider.
I mean, he's smart enough in what he's trying to do. I mean, he was very clever in how he eventually discovered where the jewel was kept. But yeah, he's not the smartest guy ever. I think he kind of like he knows what he wants, and he goes for it without any real thinking. Yeah, without any smarts or thinking like about what is the consequences of his actions. So I think you can definitely squarely put all the deaths that happen in that, in the assault at the end on him. And yeah, it doesn't feel like there's enough, I suppose, like remorse on his part.
Yes.
It's like, don't leave, Storm Shadow. Oh no. I'm trying to help you.
He's a remorseless killer. Evidently, the Snake Eyes is hardcore. He's a bad dude. Look, this is the kind of the heart of the issue, and this is why a lot of Joe fans have sworn this off as a very, very bad origin movie, because you're essentially setting up your title character as a completely unsympathetic asshole. But you can't knock them for having a fresh take on the Snake Eyes mythology. As lifelong
it's
GI Joe
definitely
fans,
different.
thank you. As lifelong GI Joe fans, you expect, okay, it's probably going to be a reduction in what you know of Snake Eyes. You know that they're not going to do the Vietnam story. You know that they're not going to do his military service or the car crash that robbed him of his family, or a touching scene where a young Hawk meets him at the airport. You know that you're going to miss these key beats in his creation, his early recruitment to the Joe team, the romance blossoming between him and Scarlet. Like, these origin elements are not on the table. You knew that coming in. So you expect to see less. You expect to see the obvious elements, like the time spent at the Arashikage temple, dojo, whatever you want to call it, castle, they called it in this film.
Yeah.
But what you don't expect is for them to add materially to the Snake Eyes mythology, like to add to what our understanding of Snake Eyes is. And this, for better or for worse, did that. It made Snake Eyes something that he's never been in our eyes. And to, as I say, to a lifelong GI Joe fan, to a lifelong GI Joe fan, this film surprised me. And I was surprised that it surprised me. I was like, what?
Likewise.
They did that? So if for nothing else other than the shock factor of like having the rug pulled out from under me after adoring this toy line and mythology and comic book series for my entire life, I mean, practically, to have a G.I. Joe story told that really just takes the wind out of my lungs. I'm like, what? He did that? That's so nice.
And I agree with that.
That was quite riveting, actually. In the cinema, I was like, I'm all of a sudden, this is uncharted territory. I have no idea where we're going. So
See, I like that
in the
too.
praise column.
Yeah. So and just to add to that, I love that in a weird way they kind of made Snake Eyes the Storm Shadow of this piece in a weird way. They made him, in my eyes, kind of. They sort of gave him a bit more Storm Shadows, the comic book Storm Shadows qualities in some respects. I don't know. That's just kind of how I felt when I was watching it. But I love that he's not a cipher. I love that he's an actual character. He's got actual flaws. We're not entirely sure if we do like him. Okay. And I do like that about him. I've grown a little bit, although I enjoy his original origin story, I do get a bit tired of the whole American Ninja bit. And what I mean by that is it's like, all of a sudden, this stranger comes in and he's like the best of the best, ever. And that has always been a weird disconnect for me. Like, yes, he's got skills. He's certainly not the best, but I think he's going to get there if they take it further with the movies. But it's just cool to see him start off as what he is right now. I like that. And like you said, Steve, it also was like a blow to me. I was like, wow, I don't know what the hell's going on with this character anymore. And that's cool, actually.
I mean, a nice aspect of it that I quite enjoy. I mean, yes, it's completely different, which I think it's a positive in its favor. You really don't know what to expect. But what I kind of enjoyed was the kind of like, well, a little bit of it was the setting up of like GI Joe and the fact that, I mean, I really want to know like what the hell is GI Joe like I mean, they've been around for over 20 years. Like his dad was a part of GI Joe or the Joes. I'm curious to know what that's about.
This GI Joe movie could have done with a little bit more GI Joe.
For sure.
Scarlet, but I know this was an Origins movie, but it's still GI Joe, and as fans of GI Joe, we want to see GI Joe.
But I do dig. On that though, I do love the fact that GI Joe has been around for a while, and it probably has been around for like 20 or so odd years. I like that.
Cobra.
It's established. And Cobra. I love that. Yeah. We don't have to go into the whole. I like that. So now, as an audience, the audience is like, oh wow, they're asking the same questions. I want to see more GI Joe, and that's a good thing because when they do a GI Joe movie, we will get that. And maybe the GI Joe movie in this universe is kind of like their Avengers. So maybe we will get a bit of build up and then we'll be like, oh, cool, this is G.I. Joe. Because Scarlet was rad. I liked Scarlet.
Yeah, because in general, the movie managed to keep the focus on the actual main story. I mean, yes, you
Yeah.
had Scarlet in there, so you know Joes exist. Cobra's there. I mean, Cobra's definitely there in a fairly big way. So they exist, so they're teasing it. They're like, okay, these are the elements that are in this world around the story that you're currently watching. I mean, because I think if you added too much GI Joe or too much Cobra into it, it'd be a bit. The focus would kind of like move away from what the main story they're trying to tell, and their main villain. The dude with the rock that blows things up, and sometimes he chooses to, take his time blowing things up.
Sometimes he just wants to light fires on either side of Granny.
You can't go left. Ooh, you can't go right. Ooh, you can't go behind you. And he got defeated. Oh god, he got defeated by like a thing full of fireworks. He keeps trying to hit them, and it's like, I can't hit you now, and then fireworks, and then. I don't know. There were some silly things in this movie, but I like that the focus that we were teased a greater world. Like maybe the filmmakers don't know what this bigger world is yet that they're trying to adapt for their movie series, but they're kind of suggesting it's out there. It's like Joes have been around for over 20 years. So is Cobra. This is a long, heated battle between these forces.
Okay,
and
well,
what's going to happen next?
Me very neatly onto the fact that this film has not performed well at the box office. Obviously, the international numbers are yet to be determined, but the likelihood of a sequel directly tying to this universe is looking pretty unlikely. I mean, as far as the money men are concerned, maybe they have great plans. Maybe the Lady J TV show will still come to pass, and that can further the story. But it would be a crying shame to have set this in motion and not being able to follow through. It's like GI Joe is a cursed franchise in that you have a film and then a scaling back and a soft reboot second film, which is basically a rock vehicle, and now this, a third attempt at kind of sinking a foothold into GI Joe at the cinema and it not sticking the landing.
But I believe that they're doing a Storm Shadow movie now as well.
Well, I live in hope for that, because perhaps they can consolidate some of the good elements and learn from some of the bad. Because yes, this had a far more intimate focus, and performances were at the heart of it, and I, scene to scene, was absorbed by the character work being done.
Likewise.
Giant snakes and glowing rocks notwithstanding, at the core of this were relationships that I bought. Like, there was a sense of like needing a home with Akiko, and having a quest for revenge with Snake Eyes, and the need to further his legacy for Tommy. Like, all these characters' needs were well established, and they played true to those motivations. So I felt like the cast really, as best they could, with a script that I have a theory about, and I'll get back to, but they did a damn fine job. It looked gorgeous for the most part. My theory, I think that there was a script in production hell at Paramount, as are thousands of scripts in Hollywood. Every day of the week, there are scripts that are optioned at various studios. And this script wasn't a G.I. Joe script. They pulled out a martial arts movie script that had vague elements of like MCU kind of movies with this rock. It was about a guy bringing another guy into this clan and being betrayed by that guy because of this thirst for revenge. And so they took this pre-existing script and inserted G.I. Joe and Cobra and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow into it, which is why those elements often jar and have a round peg, square hole kind of fit or not fit. Because every time we've got talk of Cobra or G.I. Joe, or like, these elements feel superimposed. They feel like they're unnecessary to the core story that's trying to be told here. And that core story involved this mythical stuff like the snakes. I mean, maybe in the original script, those were dragons, which would definitely.
Oh, they
has
could very well
place
have been snakes. Snakes are
in
very
a martial
powerful
arts
and-
movie. Well, I thought the snakes
Yeah.
was a tie-in to Cobra and Snake Eyes and whatever. But look, there are so many elements that don't jive with GI Joe mythology and the kind of just the tone of a GI Joe story that make me think like, this is a reworking of a pre-existing plot.
Based on what Steven said, if this was a rewrite of another script and sort of put into the mold of GI Joe, I kind of feel like maybe that is the right way to go. And hear me out on this. The last two GI Joe movies, which were written as GI Joe movies from the ground
No, they
up,
weren't. No, they weren't. Paul,
you don't think
come
they
on.
were? Nano machines and all that crap.
Definitely weren't. Well, no, they definitely read some Devil's Due comics, but what's his name? Paul W.S. Anderson? Was he the director on the first one?
No, it's the dude who did The Mummy.
Sondheim?
Steven Sondheim. Thank you. Steven Summers.
Steven Summers. Yes.
Summers,
correct.
that one.
So Summers had his script called Accelerator, which he desperately wants to get made. So he's like, oh, well, if they want me to make G.I. Joe, well, I'm going to stick that thing into it. So there were definitely elements pulled from here and there and everywhere.
Okay. I actually
which
didn't
is
know
why
that.
the whole thing is such a ramshackle mess.
But anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that, like, out of all three of the G.I. Joe movies, to me, this one felt the most G.I. Joe, ironically. Snakes and glowing stones at all, because at least with the glowing stone, the way that they handled it, that's something that we've encountered before in things like the Master Vice, and we've encountered that kind of stuff in G.I. Joe cartoons at least, and that was okay. Like, I'm not going to go into it much more than that, but that was okay for me. And initially, I would have been more resistant to it if somebody had told me about it before watching the movie, but the way the movie did it, I was like, okay, cool, there's a magical stone now. Oh, and it actually is a real thing. Okay, I'm done with that. Cool. But the other thing I just wanted to quickly mention, it's worth mentioning, I loved Scarlet, and the reason I loved it is because I felt that she was handled well. I thought her characterization was correct. I thought she came across really well. I loved her performance. I liked her. She was great. I love the Baroness. I don't know. I mean, I love the Baroness, but I loved her in this movie. She was so... I want to use the word intoxicating. Every time she was on screen, I was like analyzing this woman on screen. I was like, oh my word, I was just taken by her character. And I loved that about the Baroness in this. Akiko was fantastic as well. Really cool surprise character that they threw in there. Maybe she's an analog for Jinx or whatever.
No,
but
I disagree. I mean, this is everyone's saying, why didn't she just be called Jinx? But this is an origin movie, and it should be set before things really pick up. And I think Jinx should be a younger character. Like, making her the head of security for the Arashikage building assumes a kind of a level of seniority.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Jinx,
Like, she could have been an analog. Maybe she was an analog.
Jinx should be junior to Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, I think.
Agreed. I mean, when it comes to talking about Jinx, yeah, totally. But then it just felt like, just when I was watching, I was like, okay. But then at the same time, she was very much her own thing. And there's questions about her character that are also interesting to me, that I'd also like answers to. Like, I would love to know what her past is, what her whole vibe is, because there's something there, and the Arashikage wouldn't simply just make anybody the head of security. So there's something there. Okay, anyway, so there's that. And then the last thing, and this is like literally my grievances and gripes with the film, like my major issues with this film. The titling sequence, the credits and the opening, unbelievably shit. I hate them. I thought they were
The
so...
CG. This is like, oh, Snake Eyes.
I thought they were so poorly done. Like, and it's not the execution, like how they were done, it's the design behind them. At the end of it, I was like, tonally, the whole vibe they went for the credits was completely off. And why should I even mention like credits and stuff? Because I feel like after a film, if that's the credit sequence we get, then that changes the narrative a little bit. And I just thought it was shit. Sorry. I thought it was unbelievably crap. And if that team is listening to this podcast, you guys did a shit job. You had a poor concept. I can tell it was rushed. Sorry, but like I work in that
money
field.
where his mouth is.
Yeah, I work in that field when it comes to like animation and stuff like that, and those things are highly considered, and I can tell that that was a rush job. It's just not good. And then also there's 1 or 2 annoying continuity errors, and you've got a wonderful picture here of Tommy, of Storm Shadow here on the screen right now, and he's got his swords on his right, correct? That's where the Storm Shadow usually has them, all depends. Okay, and then here we go when he's fighting Snake Eyes on the truck. There they are on the right. And then I go back to that picture that I was drowning everybody with earlier of him on the motorbike, and there they are on the left. This happens a lot. Storm Shadow doesn't know where he wants to keep his damn swords. They do switch around a lot. It's an annoying thing. It does annoy me because it is a character design thing, and that's something they should have kept track of.
I'm annoyed that the action figure doesn't have proper sword sheaths. Like, that deters me from buying this damn figure because he's going to be stabbing himself in the back.
Yep, that is an annoying thing too. I will not disagree with you there. So that
our resident motorhead Bart in the chats has put your mind at ease, Paul, that the throttle is on the right hand, so he would have the sword on the left, so he could use them while riding the bike.
Which is cool, but there is also another scene where he is running around and does actually have them on his left. So to wit, yes, cool. But that's a good explanation, and thank you. Because that definitely makes me feel a bit better about it. And then the second thing, and you guys must understand, this is something that annoys me, and I know that when I was watching this, anybody who's practiced with this weapon was annoyed by this. When the blind master uses a kusarigama, and he's swinging around the bladed edge,
that's a sickle on a chain, yeah?
Yes. That is completely wrong. You just don't do that. You'll die. You'll kill yourself. It's just wrong. It's irritating, and you can see it. It's bad CG and whatever, and it's horrible. Because later on, he uses it correctly. So, like, I know why they did it because of the visual flair, but I always find with a martial arts film, especially if there's a lot of martial arts in your film, it's maybe better to err on the side of getting it right from a martial arts perspective, so that you don't piss off maybe part of your #1 market, which is your martial arts, artists and training martial artists who are going to see something like that and be like, "Oh, this whole film's crap because using a kusarigama the wrong way." Like that was just.
You should also probably not have a blind person wield a kusarigama either. But hey, whatever.
You seem to be able to see better than most people in the movie.
Yeah, the blind master. Yeah, as a character, he earned that. Like, I'm not like against that. I think that was cool, and I also like that all the masters had their own little tweak, thing. Like the hard master was all hands, all hands and fists, or fists and feet, and melee. And I love that. I thought that was so cool because he's quite brutal actually, and they got a damn good martial artist to do him as well. So, acting martial artist to do that. So that was great. Anyway, so those were my gripes. And also, I don't know if you guys care, but I thought the score was actually pretty good.
And unobtrusive. I mean, we certainly didn't get that stupid, like, I'm on a new level. There wasn't any pop music. It was all
it suited the movie. Yeah, so I think overall I didn't like it as much as I think Paul did, or a lot of maybe other people did. There are elements that are quite good to it. I think, as Steven said earlier, the characters feel like characters, and you kind of mostly understand where they're coming from and why they're doing what they're doing, and their interactions are really good. It just, to me at least, the ending was really insane, over the top. There were like moments where characters did things, and I was like, "Why did you do that? That doesn't make sense to me." Yeah, I'll probably watch it again. It's probably the best GI Joe movie we've gotten. But I think, as someone in our Joburg chat here said, it seems Hasbro is still shying away from making a GI Joe movie what a GI Joe movie should be, which is military based. They seem very happy to continuously market and overmarket and oversaturate with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, which always seem to be the characters. I don't know if that's Hasbro pushing it, or if it's the companies approaching them. There are hundreds of thousands of figures based on Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, which I think are probably the most two iconic characters and uniquely GI Joe. But also at the same time, they're not representative of what all GI Joe is, which is military based. And I think as long as they keep shying away from that, we're not going to get a proper movie that is GI Joe and is meant for all the fans of GI Joe and what GI Joe can be and what it is. So I think as long as they keep shying away from that, as Hans Chow said in chat, they're not gonna have a good GI Joe movie.
Also, I want to say something that Ryan, I believe it was Ryan Sweeney, but it was a Facebook post, and I actually agree with this. Paramount has made 3 GI Joe movies now, and they've all been flops from a financial point of view. I mean, I'm extrapolating his quote a little bit. So maybe Paramount shouldn't be making GI Joe movies, and I kind of agree with that too. Even though I enjoyed Snake Eyes, I do think maybe it's time to let somebody else try and make a good GI Joe movie that's not Paramount, because and also maybe just get Lorenzo de Bonaventura away from GI Joe. That would be fucking wonderful.
Let someone else do it. Yes,
he's quoted as saying, Lorenzo de Bonaventura was quoted as saying, like, he doesn't see Snake Eyes getting disfigured, not in this movie, not in the next movie, maybe by the 3rd movie. So, like, evidently he really wants to play with this Henry Golding fella a little longer. And Henry was quoted as being okay with being in a masked role. But he certainly didn't have to do that on this film. It was very much unmasked.
Shall we explore wish lists a little bit more? I think we left a few wish lists off last week from certain platforms. I've got a few on Instagram. So last week, if people didn't tune into 211, the entire topic was wish lists. What are the things you want? Money is no object. Time and space, anything can happen. What do you want? What are your top 5? So on Instagram, Hilly Billy Harper, he says his top 5 has to be version 1 Snake Eyes, version 1 Breaker, Mail Away Cobra Commander, version 1 Stalker, and either version 1 or version 1.5 Short Fuse. So Hillbilly seems to be keeping it very old school with his list. Duran, his Joe Grail Quinfector is the Defiant Space Complex, the Terradrome, the Pit, the General, and the 83 HQ. And a bonus call extra style future choices. October Guard, Hind style helicopter, or Dreadnought Swamp Cabin Base. Those are some interesting choices.
Cool.
Those are all like base-based ones. Okay, he's really reaching for the stars.
Has anyone done a good Hind? I don't think anyone has.
I personally haven't seen any good Hind toys. Not that I've been going crazy looking for them, but
there was I wouldn't say budget, because it certainly cost more than a budget toy. Like, made by, was it Blue Box? Was it, I don't know. They have like rather well detailed but T-crotch 1:18 scale action figures, and they did a Hind, but it was terrible. I think it was a single seat, only 2 blades. Like, the Hind gunship has a lot more rotor blades. I think
this has got 5.
Yeah,
that feels right.
I believe it does have 5. Yeah.
And
so is it
a
Bruder Hind?
No. Bruder would have probably done a better job of it. Bruder would have done an accurate job of it, but they don't do military, I don't think.
No, they do firemen.
But yeah, to my mind, no one's done a Hind. And boy, oh boy, if you came up during the Marvel Comics series, anytime the October Guard used a Hind, you salivated. I remember getting Special Missions 1 and seeing the Hind go up against 4 Cobra Fangs and thinking, oh, I want to recreate this so bad.
The Hind is absolutely great. It's such a cool looking helicopter. I mean, it was featured in Rambo 2 and 3,
but not actually a Hind. That was a repainted. That was a Puma. That was our bird.
No way.
I think it was a Puma. Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Holy moly. So actually, I really do enjoy our local defense force better than anyone else's.
We make cool stuff.
But I mean, they dressed that helicopter, if it is a Puma, maybe, but crucify me in the comment section below, please, if I'm wrong. I think whatever helicopter it was, they just added those hind-esque sloped stub wings, that the weapons, the rocket pods and stuff are stuck onto. Yeah, but
That's
it's not the
fascinating.
hind because it's got a tandem cockpit. Sorry, it's got a side-by-side cockpit configuration, not a tandem. Anyways, the hind
that's
is mythical because it looks aggressive. It's hell of a fast, but it seats troops in the back, like 8 or so
The flying
guys.
tank.
It's amazing.
Mm.
It's an amazing helicopter, and I cannot believe we do not have a toy of it. So, Duron, you bang on the money there, brother.
Hell yeah, dude. Get it made. And for the final 3 comments from Instagram, Diamond Dave 21 says, all he wants is just the Terradrome at this point.
Not
I
just
think
the
he has
Terradrome,
everything
my friend.
else.
You will want the AVAC and Firebat because, trust me, there are Terradromes to be had, but not all of them seem to include those 2 very important pieces, as I've learned.
Absolutely.
So, good luck to you.
And then finally, from Instagram, Yojo Fern would like a USS Flag, a massive Chinook for 1 to 18 scale figs, of course, a Cobra Terradrome, a foldable Castle Destro / Mars Industries Lab, and a Cobra Tri-Deck Mega Yacht. That'd be kind of cool.
That could be cool.
Like a
I'm
proper
loving
like
this.
floating base.
I'm loving this Dreadnought swamp cabin thing that was suggested earlier. Sorry, my mind is still turning on that one. And the reason it is because now that you mentioned an affordable Destro Castle / Mars Industries Lab, I'm like, why can't Hasbro or why can't toy companies, and I'm asking this question because I want somebody in the industry to give me an answer. Why can't we just have play sets that can eventually connect to each other to make a bigger thing? I mean, Micro Machines did it, and they did it really well. He-Man, sorry, I was trying to go through the whole episode without mentioning He-Man. But He-Man does it as well, where there's, pieces that certain vehicles come with pieces that attach to Castle Grayskull. So why can't we just have, instead of releasing a whole Silent Castle, why don't they just release those things as separate pieces and we can all put them together to make the Silent Castle? I mean, that would be great. That would be affordable. I would buy into that instead of having to go the whole crowdfund our really mega expensive spaceship or Galactus. Galactus.
In the chat, Spot has rescued me. The Hind was put out by Elite Force, BBI. Now, Blue Box did make pretty good, accurate helicopters and vehicles, jeeps and stuff. This is not one of their finest entries. This is a piece of shit. But for whatever reason, the seller is hoping to get close to $400 for this garbage. Oh dear!
It looks like a Fisher Price Hound.
Do not let the photos fool you. This would not make a good custom space. Don't give this man $400.
No,
you
sorry,
are crazy.
person.
You're wasting your money. And also, to Yojo Fern's pick on the 1 to 18 Chinook. It's not an accurate Chinook, but have you considered the Sentinel 1 Whirlybird that you used to be able to get at Toys R Us? I think now it's done through Click and Pay or something on Amazon. But I'm sure everyone who's a Joe fan knows the fuselage I refer to. It's got 3 blades up front, 3 blades in the back. It's got a big ramp. It's got a side door. Sometimes has a winch, but it's a big bird, and you can fit a Vamp in that hold. You can also fit a Thunder Machine. You can't fit a Snowcat, but it's
you can fit a Vamp in that hole.
It's got the biggest internal space. It's
Loose?
bigger than the AB-112 Shark, and it's bigger than the Osprey. It's the biggest bellied transport aircraft made by sort of a knockoff brand, made by anybody, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it does.
And I suppose
it is slightly chibified, but I find it's the least chibified of the Chapmay / Click and Play / Sentinel 1. God, China, can't you settle on a name? It's like every region and every era has a name for the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
But customizing talk, I suppose you could buy 2 of them, cut one up, cut them both up, and then take the middle section of one just to extend the other.
Extend it. Yeah, it's certainly got the girth of a scale accurate Chinook. Well, as close as damn it. It just doesn't have the length. All girth and no length. What is that? What do they say? Long and thin goes right in. Short and thick does the trick. I was going to say on that bombshell, leave it, but I've got a response from Gmail to round us off from Lance. I alluded to it earlier. Anyway, his number one pick would be a 1985 Snowcat with the figure subscription service Frostbite. I wonder if they fit. Like vintage vehicles and modern figures sometimes don't marry too well, and the Snowcat, it could be kind of tight in there. He better be able to get a 90-degree bend to his thighs. Number 2, he'd like to see GI Joe classified Wolverine with CoverGirl. He says he'd pay a fair penny for that. It would cost a fair penny. I mean, it's a small vehicle at 1:18 scale. Classified, that'd be substantial. Number 4, the Cobra Firebat with the AVAC pilots. It's the only piece missing from his Terradrome. Guys, I stand by the fact that of the original ARA Grail pieces, the Terradrome is leading the charge. It's beating the flag. It's beating the Defiant. So you're sitting pretty there, Paul, with your ottoman, your plastic trash can.
I can't wait to bring it here.
Lance would love to have a classified shipwreck with accessories that would make him either the classic 1985 style or the 50th anniversary tactical version. So by that I mean, I think he means the like the Devil's Due redesign with the knit cap.
Swap out head with the beanie. Yeah.
That's it. And I'm gonna leave the wish list items there. We've got a lot of responses on Facebook to get through, and some of them are great talking points, which are actually just going to feed into next week's episode. So stick around in 7 days for that.
Let's keep the wishes going. Also, Bart in the comments also says that the figures should fit. And also, didn't they have a Mark II come in the modern era? So that figure with the Snowcat should fit together.
True. But I do know that some of the earlier, particularly like the Snow Job body mold, has that skirt and particularly long legs. Look, it's never going to be great in my opinion, but yeah, absolutely, modern figures could fit. You just got to get, I find, their feet over the kind of the ridge, because there's a natural ridge that a vintage figure's feet would rest up against, but if you kind of flip the feet above the ridge and come back down, so basically the figure's feet are in the where the lights are, you can win.
I have an Arctic shipwreck, which has a similar body construction to the 50th anniversary Snow Job, and that does somewhat fit in the Snowcat that came with the Pursuit of Cobra. And I don't know if the internals there are the same as the vintage, but they do fit. The only thing is that it's very tight, and you do need to soften the plastic jacket a little bit to try and make it fit. Alternatively, Frostbite, modern era Frostbite, and which is basically just a repaint of Snow Job from the 25th anniversary, fits quite well in the Snowcat, actually.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds
go
good.
get it,
So
Lance.
the chances are it's going to work out for you. Absolutely.
And guys, on the talk of wish lists, I mean, we have the grand, amazing wish list that we all want. What is in your your shirt? What is your short-term, wish list like in terms of toys? Like, just quickly. I mean, I'm sure there's something that's like on your mind that you're like, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that. I mean, Stephen just got an AVAC. So like, Robbie, are there Funko Pops or anything that's coming out that you're excited about? Hey, listen, you like Pops. I don't, but you do. That's cool. Lucky for you, you like them.
I've liked specific Pops, and I think I own all the Pops I want. Actually, no, there is still one at work that I haven't bought yet. The Jack from The Shining. I don't own him yet. So I think Yeah, exactly. I want him. I'd love to own him, and then I can watch The Shining with so with him sitting near me. I think that's probably the only thing I can, off the top of my head, that's the only thing I can think of that is in my near future.
Cool,
Pops
man.
stay in the box, right? Like you would never take them out. There's no sense.
Well, I
in
would if
having
I
them
had
displayed.
if I had space to display them. I would do that, but I don't.
But you'd have to construct. Well, you'd have to construct some kind of display case around their exact dimensions. Like
Are they
the
released
boxes
those?
are a display option.
Well, the
basically.
box is a display option, but depending on when the pops came out, they do come with their own little see-through base that you can pop them on.
But you
They
wouldn't choose
also
to
come with
display them like that,
boxes.
right?
They also have these clear boxes that Funko
Yeah, you
Pop
can also get a
sells
clear
to
box, but I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't just display them out, because I mean, they are. Well, to me personally, I mean, I think they're like any other toys. You just put them somewhere and you look at them.
But you can't play with them and put them in vehicles. Boo.
Well, obviously not. I mean, that's the thing. They're just basically a display piece.
Yeah.
You know, like a statue would be. At least to
But
me,
you
that's
do
the way
have your
I look at them.
pops. You do have your pops loose.
No, I still have them in the packaging, but that's just because they put away. You know, it's easier to store them like that because they take up the same amount of space. I don't have them just like, I didn't throw them all into like a bin or something.
Did I
Where they belong.
did I tell you guys? Did I ever tell you guys about that one delivery I received where I was expecting to get some paints I'd ordered from a site called Raru, and I'd ordered some model paints, and so the delivery guy comes and he gives me the box, and I look at the box and I'm like, the box was about 30 centimeters, let's say 12 inches wide, and about 15, and about 6 inches deep. So it was like, I was like, okay, they probably just really didn't want these paints to get messed up or whatever's in the box. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I sign for it. I go upstairs. I don't look at the address on the box because I don't think to look at the address because, these courier guys, they generally do a good job. I've learned a lesson now, by the way. So I open the box and I very carefully, because I'm not like a terrorist with the box, I just slowly open it with my knife and I look inside. I'm like, oh my God, there's Funko Pops in there. I immediately phone the customer service.
This is a paint.
Yeah, shit. Like the guy, like the courier guy gets to me and he's like, oh shit, did you open the box? And I'm like, unfortunately, yes. And he's like, oh no. I'm like, yeah, I know, there's Funko Pops in there. And he's like, he looks at me, he's like, he doesn't know what I mean. I'm like, don't worry. And he's like, here's your box, which was considerably smaller. And I was like, that's the kind of box I was expecting my paints to be in. And I'm like, but yeah, some dude had like ordered, from what I could tell, judging by the size of Funko Pops, he had ordered like 6 Funko Pops in that little box. So they're out there, folks.
There are people
Anyway,
who
I
do
just-
collect them.
I had to destroy all of those Funko Pops. It is my
I have no
sworn
choice.
duty in life. Yeah, Jesus.
just tell this person I did them a favor. Yeah, for me, if I'm looking for a Captain Gridiron, that's actually a toy that I'm on the hunt for. Captain Gridiron and the Mega Marines. It sounds like a sub team. Captain Gridiron and the Mega Marines.
Which steps outside of your wish list for 2021? Like, Paul, you're a mess. And you were so proud of the fact that you had only 4 picks out of
Yeah,
the
but dude,
five.
you said if I had infinite money and infinite time and all those and infinite space, I'm like, of course. But then I did actually say that I'm not going to put my GI Joe stuff on here except for like Outback, which I did, because that is like, I personally don't think I'll ever have a Tiger Force Outback. I know that's not the right like mindset for that, but it's just that it's way too much money for my collecting. So that's why I put it on that list. All that stuff on my list is like super expensive that I'll probably just never be able to own. And ironically, I would go on to HLJ after our show, and what was there? That F91 metal Gundam for $312, and it is just like it's new stock. And I was like, what? But I'm like, no. I could buy a whole 2 GI Joes for that amount of money. So-
Well, I mean, still in my crosshairs, ever present now, and probably will form my birthday gift to myself, will be a Sky Striker. If I close in on the right deal, I think it's time. So yes, the number 2 on my top 5 will probably be the object of my hunts in coming weeks and months. But I think we've come to the end of another great adventure, gentlemen. Talked a lot. If you want to get hold of the show, you can do so in the following means. You can get hold of us on arealsouthafricanhero@gmail.com. You can drop down into the comments section and go ballistic on the YouTube version. If you're listening to us on a podcatcher, leave us a review. We seldom get reviews. Be the first. Amazing.
Yeah, well, you know, if you've gotten this far in the episode, you know you liked it, so hit the like. If you
Why
haven't
would you have
subscribed and you want
endured this
more
long?
of this madness, yeah, exactly. And if you want more of this madness, hit the subscribe button, because we do more than just a podcast, but also not more than just a podcast, if you know what I mean. This podcast is awesome. And you guys can always check out our Patreon. Yes, you can join the Berg Force. That's right. And you can also be part of our live audience and, you know, check out some of the cool exclusive stuff that we do. This week, I will be releasing a new track to our Patreons. It's a track that they've heard a little bit of, but they'll be getting the full version of it this week. And if you guys are so inclined, we also do very cool GI Joburg merchandise with some very cool GI Joe artwork that may or may not be GI Joe, but it definitely is GI Joe, just not enough to get into trouble for it.
It's been amazing, guys. That was a good chat. I'm glad we finally got Snake Eyes. We were able to talk about it. It was interesting. It was different. It was an experience, and I'll probably will watch it again. I'll say that much.
I'm gonna watch it again as well. I enjoyed it. I mean, I took some screenshots and whatever, and as I was doing that, I'm like, I want to watch this movie again.
It's 2 hours till we do the podcast. I can watch it again.
No, I would have loved to, but I had serious folks here, so I couldn't take that time.
Oh,
that was my
and you were
initial
making
plan.
the pizza burgers for them for lunch.
No, nothing that exciting. Just coffee.
Exactly what you want to make for the in-laws. Perfect, Paul. Such a boy. Such a boy. All right, you hogs, get out of here. I'll see you in 7. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for commenting, subscribing, liking our shit, watching, barging in. Forthcoming Snake Eyes review this week, plus a new playmotion this weekend. The premiere will be announced shortly, so check back on YouTube. My name is Steve, and yo Joburg, everybody.